building needs square footage. So it's the police department, I think we should be downtown. The police department or the library, unless we wanna build ourselves a palace. I like this location, and I would miss the library. I love the library, but. Well, you have to have it in Foley.
Part of the building was to have a library there, part of this building.
Oh, well, you could do something. I don't know. So we're gonna put it here, it'll be nicer and bigger and same cost or more.
Square footage.
What?
Where are you gonna put the square footage? You were just talking about adding square footage.
Oh, I was hoping that the county would do something. Like, I talked to Scott Johnson, we need a park, they had a commitment to that and have funds for it. And I think,
Deb is not gonna like that.
federal government's gonna have money for land for a park, but I would be just as happy with the community. Well, what?
What are we doing now?
2 minutes per
Senior
speaker.
center.
She ain't gonna like
Have you
that.
seen any of those community centers?
They're empty.
Oh, no, I
You know, we gotta,
We take the Girl Scouts around. So I've been to Monticello, I've been to Faribault, I've been to Northfield, been to Roseville.
What about here? What about our area?
Well, St. Cloud,
Yeah.
nobody else has them.
Right.
So it would be a county draw.
We could just go sign on this table.
You know, I don't think we should do it because we don't have a population to support a big thing like that.
No.
But I think we got Gilman and we got Rice and we got Malacca maybe.
Go from Rice going down to community center. Because if that's the case, we could have bought, for a community center, we could have bought Henry's.
Well, the Henry's is still for sale, isn't it? Yeah. And that's a legitimate location. I think people from Palmer would come. Or from Dwyer. I think anybody in the Foley school district would. And that's pretty big.
Why, what would be the draw to that?
What?
What would be the draw to that?
Well, the senior center will get people to come. When you go to St. Cloud, people go there 4 days a week.
did you see this, did you have this on, I don't know if you got that on your phone or whatever, this, is it Bill Lair wants to put up some kind of racing museum, whatever, possible racetrack? I'm trying to find something that would prove that this was legit or something. I couldn't come up with it. What is he looking at this property out here to the west of town? Yeah.
There was one thing in there, and it's in the book. It was a date or something.
You know, it would serve the seniors, it would serve the children, it would serve people our age. But the whole facility isn't open in the summer. And
Did you see they got all the curb and everything down there for the roundabout?
Did they start pouring it?
Oh yeah, they've been pouring
Really?
cement, they got a lot of the curb
Maybe
and
that's
that,
what
not the road, of course.
I'm just jealous,
They've been pouring a lot.
but,
It's 5:31.
Okay. We will now call the meeting to order. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before starting the meeting tonight, I'd like to remind everyone who's wishing to speak in the open forum, there's a sign-up sheet on the back table there. We ask that you please sign up, and open forum comments are to be limited to 2 minutes per speaker. The city council meetings observe the Roberts Rules of Order. The public must obtain permission of the mayor before addressing the city council Individuals who are noisy, unruly, do not have the right to remain, and we will ask them to leave. If they do not want to leave, we will have them escorted out of here. Could I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We will now recess the city council meeting at 5:32 to conduct a public hearing on the temporary liquor license request of the Pantown Brewing Company. Is there anyone present who wishes to speak for or against this matter? Is there anyone present who wishes to speak for or against this matter? Is there anyone present who wishes to speak for or against this matter? At 5:33, we will now reconvene the regular city council meeting. Can I get a motion approving the liquor license request?
So move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Wastewater Regionalization Project. We'll now have an update on the project and pay application from Jacob Humberg from Bolton Menk.
So as mentioned, I'm Jake Humbert from Bolton. I'm standing in for Jared. This meeting is presenting pay estimate number 3 for the Wastewater Regionalization Project. The total project completion per the total amount is at approximately 28%. Within the last pay period since pay estimate number 2, over a mile of 12-inch force main has been installed both through direct drilling and direct excavation. As has work continued on the 2 largest lift stations in the project, near the Gulf Ponds and then west of town. Going into the next pay period, work will essentially continue in the same manner on both those lift stations and the force main. The total amount that this pay application is requesting in both work and held materials is $978,813.55. Are there any questions?
Does anyone have any questions for him?
Seems to me they're moving right along,
Yeah.
a little ahead of schedule.
Yeah, they're especially with the force main installation,
Yeah.
they're moving right along and soil lift stations coming too. So like those should be completely constructed this year yet. Project's still on track to be completed in November of 2023. So
Any problems with material? Getting it, lift stations?
yeah, there are issues coming up, but they're being dealt with so far, and nothing that seems to be holding us up in the large scope of things.
So if we're not hooked up December of next 2023, is there any penalties or?
That would probably have to be a discussion that gets opened with St. Cloud, but I'd have to get back to you on that. I think we have regular meetings, actually the next one's tomorrow with the city of St. Cloud and us. So if it looks from a long ways out like that's going to be an issue, there'll definitely be more discussion taking place.
Any other questions for him?
Get a motion. For the pay app approval.
Oh, yeah, can we get a motion to make the payment?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
We will now have Brian Mosier give us the Foley Fire Relief Annual Update.
Good evening, council members. I threw the sheet on. I apologize. It was supposed to be in the email for the request to get on the agenda. Basically the same form that we've seen the last number of years that you guys have been on. The big number is always the bottom one. I highlighted it in green. Green is good. We still have a surplus. Many of you, anybody watching the stock market knows that it hasn't really been climbing, hasn't really been doing much. As of right now, if you look at line H, as of our June report, because they come out in quarters, our June report was just shy of $150,000 loss in our investments. I rounded it up just to be safe because I don't know today's market. But then if you look at line D, E, and F, that's our projection to come in, so that kind of almost subsidized almost half of our quote-unquote losses, and that's not telling by the end of the year. I guess the big thing at the end of the year is, as long as the number's in the green, with 72,000, that's usually not where we're looking to ask for a raise in January, unless something would drastically change in the next few months, which I don't really foresee. So at this point, I would say this is going to be basically our final projections to the end of the year. I'm sure there's going to be some more fluctuation, but we're sitting on the good side of the bubble, and I don't foresee it jumping enough to be back for a raise. So I'm guessing this will be the final report at the end of the year, assuming that number will change. But we should. I don't see anything happening where it's going to be so crazy that we should be in the red with that much of a buffer. You know, when we ask for a raise, we're usually only trying to keep it around 30,000, so we still have plenty of play in our surplus compared to where we normally leave it. So, if there's any questions?
What are we looking at, any upcoming service pensions?
As of right now, nobody has come forward. I know there's inklings, but the way this report is out is it's already assuming they're paid.
Okay.
So if there's a guy that comes to me tomorrow and says, I want to retire, and he's over the age of 50.
So that's not going to affect this
It
report?
won't affect it because these
Okay.
numbers already assume that money's out the door.
All right.
So.
Any other questions for him?
Great.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Now Deb Olson.
Hi, I'm Deborah Olson, and it's Deborah, D-E-B-R-A, 600 Dewey Street, Foley, Minnesota. I wanted to mention, first of all, at the end of 8/2/2022 council meeting, when the majority of us in attendance left for the evening, the parking and ordinance was reopened for discussion. And so the question being posed is exactly what was the consensus after that meeting? And on that same topic, even though it's well within the First Amendment rights, some of the residents in Foley are very unhappy to the point of being angry that particular council members are going around and photographing potential violators. And then with your August 16th, 2022, discuss the 2023 budget, I'm pleased to see that the proposed facade grant program has been tabled. As part of the presentation, a comparison study was utilized, but provided an inaccurate overview. Foley, by definition, does not compare with St. Cloud, Monticello, or Hutchinson. And I asked Sarah to submit my email explaining that it actually should have been closer in size and makeup to Foley. And also, what is the Thriving Communities Economic Development Task Force working on? And how do the residents of Foley know about any, or if there are any projects that they're working on? And my final one, with going along with that budget, and growth that's predicted for Foley. Additional personnel is warranted in our police department. A rumor was put out there that there was a discussion of disbanding or eliminating our city police department. And from an insurance standpoint, that would increase the cost of homeowners insurance, because that's something that's taken into consideration, as well as the response time that would need to be taken to a homeowner's address. And upon discussion with other police officers on both a local and national level, one of the duties other police officers find displeasing is to assist with community services. Other cities use a community services officer to fulfill those type of duties. So maybe better utilization of our police officers' time would be better spent than on things such as driving around to find out who and where violators of our city ordinances are occurring. With the growth of our city, it would actually behoove us to start looking at another full-time officer. Maybe then, as our insurance rates are increasing, Sarah's well aware of many of our service insurances are increasing. That will help bring down those costs of services to the homeowners. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now have the open forum. If there's anyone.
Nobody signed up.
Oh, nobody signed up. Okay, there will be no open forum. We'll move on to the police department with Katie McMillan.
Mr. Mayor and members of the council, in front of you, you received the stat report for the month of August. We had 376 calls of service. Just comparing to last year in 2021, we had 265. So that's well over 100 more calls of service for the month of August compared to last year. And if you are interested, I have numbers for the previous years also if you want to see those. When looking at it, the calls are pretty much in line with other months. Suspicious activity was up 10 calls. For your traffic, 23 of those were stop sign violations, and 52 were speed on Broadway alone, Broadway and County Road 4. Today was the first day of school. Morning traffic was what we all anticipated, was a little bit hectic with the three-way stop. At 7:45, my officer had to get out and motion traffic through that three-way stop before they were backed up all the way to the highway. But other than that, that was our only issue. Everybody took turns and it worked out very nicely. The afternoon, there was no issues at all. So, but that is all I have for you guys, unless you have any questions for me.
Does anyone have any questions?
Out of the 43 calls for suspicious activity,
Yes.
what is the end result of that? Just
Well, how in suspicious activity could be like abandoned vehicle that's just not in the, usually it's not there, so that causes it to be suspicious. Or suspicious object found, things like that. Those, they end result to be just a vehicle broke down, or they left the car there while they hopped in with their friends to go somewhere.
So these calls are coming from citizens that are keeping a watch on
Yep.
their area.
Citizens keeping a watch and the officers being proactive. Yep.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, we'll move on to City Engineer Jared Griffith, who will give us an update on the Highway 23 project.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. Today I'll have an update on the 23 project. The week of the August 15th, as you noticed, we were in the intersection of Broadway Avenue, completing the sanitary and water reconstruction there. That reconstruction lasted through the week, and then the following Monday, August 22nd, we did the service there on that southwest quadrant of that intersection there. As you all can tell, the intersection is still closed. Tomorrow's progress meeting hopefully will bring more news on that. The contractor had every intention to have that wrapped up by now, but as you can tell, he has not got that far. So that is going to be one of the conversations we have tomorrow on when that's going to be opening up. I'm glad to hear that the school went well this morning with the construction there and everything at Penn and Norman there. And as far as look ahead here, I believe our last progress meeting was about 2 weeks before they flipped the traffic over from the north side to the south side. And at that point, then we will continue with city utilities in that north ditch, all that installation of the force main and water main. Other than that, that is all I have, unless you have any questions for me.
How far behind are they?
Well, the last project schedule I saw showed them still meeting the dates for this year. We all know that it's going a little slow. But last schedule I saw, it did show them making the deadline there. I believe the culvert between, or just west, the box culvert just west of Lord, I think that will get pushed. That's not really due to a schedule, more of a lead time on that structure there. But as of now, I think that's really the only thing that's still undecided if it's going to be this season or not. No, we'll see. I mean, we'll see.
Right.
As the last 2 months have shown, maybe we'll see.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else have any questions for Jared? Okay, we'll move on to Public Works and Fire, Mark Pattenfuss.
Mr. Mayor, City Council. Continue to try to get summer stuff done. Pool close, as you know, went well. I don't foresee any big expenses, except the tuck pointing, which you guys put money in, and I don't have a firm price on that yet. So everything else seemed to shut down good. So trees in the park we've been taking down. There's just a lot of dead ones out there, and they don't look dead, but they're hollowing. So if you see that happening in Holdridge, start jetting this month and flushing by the end of the month, and DOT-ing trucks. So between that, the sewer stuff and the 23 stuff, the guys trying to get their summer stuff done, it's been busy. Anything else on Public Works side, or we are going to do some trail overlay yet this year?
Okay.
Yeah, I thought maybe they'd be here. I'm hoping this week. We cut that one off. Anybody walks south of the Foley Square, it's holding water so bad. It's just we're gonna have to do a swale there a little bit, and during a rainy event it might have a little water on, but it'll be sloped to run off. Took out 75 feet there and redid it. The guys did so. And then we're gonna do 500 to 550 feet after that going west on that one.
Okay.
And that's this fall yet, along with a couple other areas.
I've had a lot of people asking me, when's it gonna get fixed?
Yeah, no, I was hoping too. He said a few weeks. If they run out of cement today on the roundabout, so they got half a load for the last load. That's all Knife River would deliver. So everywhere. Any more on Public Works or?
51 gonna open up this week, or haven't heard?
I haven't heard for sure. I meant to get a hold of Nathan and I forgot. They got the culverts in, except the ends they were working on today. I didn't go down there with everything else going on, but they got a subcut back and all that. But this will be
They probably won't get
this
blacktop
will
this
be
year.
14 by the end of the week, so they're getting there. It's a 20-day contract.
They won't blacktop that this year, will they?
I don't know. I bet they do.
Well, they didn't on 80, that's what I'm asking.
I think that's because it got too late. Did it?
I think they wanted it to sit.
Well, it's a good idea in Foley. It's not my fault, road.
mine either.
Anything else on that, otherwise I got a couple fire things?
Anybody have anything? Oh, okay, what's
Just a
on?
couple fire things, we're doing that Red Cross smoke detector giveaway program Saturday, September 17th. You know anybody that wants smoke detectors? Did it, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago with them, and it was good. Their numbers are down this year so far. We're gonna do the open house first Saturday to kick off Fire Prevention Week, October 8th, I believe it is. Buy a raffle ticket if you want. It's October 8th, 11 to 1. Doing that. Couple grants we got this month. We got I don't have the paperwork on it yet, but DNR had a $10,000 grant. It's a 50-50 grant. So it's a $5,000 they'll give us. We got a match about every 3 years we get one. This will be for wildland gear for the guys. I want to update that so they have better wildland gear, and we can save our $5,000 turnout gear from running through swamps and ruining that. So that'll pay for most of that. And then we got notified last week that we received a FEMA grant. It's Assistant to Firefighter grant, it's still on 21 year. That's a 95%, 5%. Federal portion is $42,992. That'll be for a new SCBA compressor and storage containment for filling we got the new SCBAs, and they're higher pressure, so we need this to fill our bottles full. So that's money we've had very good success here in Foley. Since 2002 when Larry and I took over, Assistant Chief Neto and I, we brought between $400,000 and $500,000 on grants, of FEMA grants alone into town. So it's very good. We try to push it when the feds ask for a letter to our reps, we send them out. So money that we would have had to spend, because we got to have air packs, we got to have turnout gear, all that stuff. So anything else on the fire side?
How much was that grant, that FEMA grant?
The total grant is $45,142. Feds are $42,992.38. Our share is $2,149.62. And it's for a compressor fill station and storage bottles.
Any other questions for him? We will move on to administration. Sarah Brunn.
Okay, Mr. Mayor and Council, a couple things before we get to the budget. I included an email from Blake Paulson. He is now working for another rep, and I just wanted to make sure you had that information. If we would like to set up a meeting with him, we can do that. If there's something that comes, about that you'd like to set something up, let me know. I can certainly help with that. But I wanted to make sure that you had that contact information. A couple other things, we are working on, we have 2 applications in. One is on the joint planning side, and then one we are working through at the staff level for an addition to a building in town. So we will probably see some items on the planning commission in the next month or so. So more to come on that. And then the main item I wanted to bring to you is the preliminary levy. So tonight I'll ask the city council to adopt what we consider the preliminary levy, and that is what we send out to the business owners and residents in their tax statements. Those are the estimates that they receive, and then when we approve that, we then readdress it again with a hearing in December. This is the levy that you can not increase but lower. So if there's any uncertainty on, if we should go this number, we're still waiting for this, we always want to go a bit higher if we're uncertain, and then we can always bring it back down in December. In your packet, we presented a resolution that includes a 14% increase. This is cutting the siren and the EDA funding. That brings us to the 14%. We can further cut that. I know there was some discussion yet and some questions and some follow-up that some of the council members wanted to do. If you'd like, I do have a couple different, I have another option if that's something that you'd like to see.
Like I mentioned in the memo, I just wanna caution you, there was some discussion on levy limits at the end of the last legislative session. So inflation's running about 9.2% from last year, so we are seeing increased costs. We saw a significant increase in workers' compensation costs this year. We still don't have solid health insurance numbers, so there still are some uncertainties out there with that budget. I just wanna caution you with levy limits, if we see that continue, that could put us in a difficult position, because the state can control any increases by a levy limit that we would have to do in a subsequent budget cycle. So, if we levy, just hypothetically, 2%, we did a 2% increase, the state could say you can't do anything more than you did last year. And that could put us in a difficult situation. I think the comparison, did the mayor did you get Sauk Rapids that you heard today?
Yeah, you mean on the budget with?
Yeah, were they at 9%?
Sauk Rapids was,
Okay.
yes.
I didn't catch what the
9.4.
county, okay, I didn't catch what the county, was at. I know that they usually don't do their preliminary until later this month. I didn't get that information, but I guess I'll open it to you. You know, what are your thoughts? What's your comfort level? What would you like to see?
Well, for one, I'd like to, the way it is now, without taking out the EDA and the siren, you know, we get down to around 14, which is where I would like to be, because I would like to see the office remodeled next year. Now, I don't know how many of you have ever been in that office, but the 4 ladies we got working in there are doing a really good job, but it is so crowded and so cramped in there, and we could really use the room for the girls so they could expand out a little bit and they wouldn't be so squished in there. And that'd come to like about 14%, and that's what I would like to see done. Now, if you want the other option, another option, I should say, where we would get it down to approximately 9.4 or something, but.
Yeah, do you want me to go?
Yeah.
So there was a couple questions that were brought to me today, regarding additional options. One thing we could do is we could levy a portion, not committing to that project next year, but levy a portion into the capital fund, and then readdress where things are at next year. Either way, we'd still be funding that CIP. There's a lot of needs next year too that are called for on that capital improvement plan. That might provide you a bit more insulation when it comes to levy limits if that becomes a potential. It does still get us somewhere towards a potential project, you know, in a 2024 or beyond. That would be putting us at actually 9.42%. It would just basically lower that general fund levy on this resolution by $50,000. If that's something that the council, if that's closer for some of the other council members, I'm not certain where the rest of you are at.
Yeah, see, what worries me is if we wait like a year and a half to 2 years before we do the remodeling, we could run into a possible, they might raise their price then. We might be up to 105 or 110,000. And that's why I would prefer to leave it for now at around 14%. And that way we'd include the 100,000 in the budget, and then we could get the remodeling done next year. That's just the way I feel it should go.
Well, if I could speak, I am not, I went in the office and looked and I saw the plan and I think it's a good plan. I am still not convinced that we're gonna have that many people in that office in 2 years. I still think that we've got a trend in this country and in this county and in this state of work from home. And I know that the mayor is not particularly happy with that, but I do think that I don't think we know today what we're gonna need in 2 or 3 years. And I would hate to see $100,000 remodel and then find out 3 of the 4 people are working from home all the time. And, you know, that's the trend in the country is these hybrid work from home things. And I haven't had a chance to talk to Sarah about what she sees in that, but I think committing today to that amount of money, it's a lot of money. It doesn't add 1 square inch of workspace to the building, so it's just moving walls and remodeling. And I know it's crowded. I know the police department is crowded. But I am just not convinced that we know today what we need in 2 or 3 years. So my question to Ms. Brunn is, where do you see our office, as far as people working from home more frequently?
Right now, we need some other technology upgrades to make that work. We're kind of running on a bare minimum. We can kind of remote in with a laptop, but we don't have phones unless we give out personal cell phones, which I don't think is fair to an employee to ask them to do that.
No.
And we also have historically been a very customer-facing entity. We just talked about this, the number of people, they were 2-3 deep last week with just water payments, building permits. We are traditionally kind of people like to come in, do it face to face. We're better at the online and email and stuff like that, but we do have some work, I think, as a community and also technologically, you know, we just don't have some of the capabilities in place. Not to say it's not, I do agree with you that there is more and more we can do with technology, and I do see the value in that, but I also see the value that the council has always placed with having lots of open office hours and having people here to face our public.
Yeah, see, that's why I would like the remodeling done so we can keep all the ladies here in the office. And then when it does, there are times when it's not busy, but when there are times when it is busy, we will have the help here to take care of it.
Well, I would like to speak in favor of option 2, which is to allocate the money to the general fund and not really commit to remodeling next year. There had been some talk about committing the funds over a period of 2 years for the budget.
Yeah, that was one of the options I think Ms. Shaw presented, or that was, you know, we could consider if that made it easier. It might give us the opportunity to then look at some of those other options that you suggested with teleworking. We would know more, maybe
Well,
after trying some things.
that money could just as easily be spent on upgrading technology as moving walls.
Yeah. There are many needs, and as you saw in the capital improvement plan, I mean, there are many needs that money, you know, could be used for.
Then I have another question. At one point, and I can't quite remember who I was talking to, but if we make substantial improvements in our office, there was a concern that we would have to upgrade our restrooms.
Yeah,
to meet
Yep, there is. We actually had that
disability
evaluation done, so that estimate includes any ADA accessibility, which it would not trigger anything substantial that we would have to do.
So it would not?
It would not. We had that evaluation done and looked into it when we figured this number.
So that
Yeah.
isn't an issue.
Yep, nope, but it's a very valid concern. We had to look into that with our building official and an architect.
How much would we have to do the restrooms to comply with the current standard?
It's typically the stall sizes. You know, we have the accessible door, we have, you know, we're obviously a grade level. It's mostly with the door sizes and stall sizes.
Okay.
See, the trouble with pushing too much on to next year's budget, this budget was a tough one as it was. If we push a lot of stuff on to next year's, we're gonna have a worse budget next year than we did this year. And that's why I wanna leave it at 14, use that 100,000 remodel and keep moving forward. Our levy was too low last year. We went down too low. And now we've gotta make up for it. Does anybody else have anything?
On the remodel, that was to be held off till the following year though, till next year.
The remodel will be done in 2023 if we pass it at 14%.
Sometime during the year.
Sometime during the next year.
Yeah.
If we just put away 50, then it would not be till sometime in 2024
Right.
when we would be doing the remodeling. And I don't wanna go that far.
Mark, when's your building need some attention? Or is it on the capital, on the capital improvement?
I don't even get to make the list yet. I had it in there, but I didn't make the list.
That's probably gonna be more than 100,000.
Huh?
That's probably gonna be more than 100,000.
That's gonna be, yeah.
And that's the trouble. We get a project like that next year for the following year, it goes into next year's budget, and that'll just kill it if we got that remodeling in there yet too. Is there any other discussion?
I guess my concern, Mr. Mayor, is, you know, the building and the way this is set up, you know, we're spending $100,000, we're not adding any square footage, but we also have an issue with the police department out there. I look at it as if we're gonna spend that much money at this point, and then a couple years down the road, we have to spend another X amount of money because we're growing. It seems to me we should at least look at everything, in particular the future of where we're gonna spend it. A nice pipe dream is, it would be nice to be able to make this building bigger. How do we do that? Well, that would be something that maybe future council members would have to decide. We have space on the left, the old Ford building. That's something to look at. That's just my concern. To spend that kind of money, what are we actually getting for it? I understand that they are cramped, but I don't like to just throw the money out there because we need this. If we're gonna spend that kind of money, let's look at everything. That's my concern. If we have to do it, we know we're gonna have to do it sometime, but remote telecommuting does work as long as you have the technology.
Can I ask a question?
Sarah?
You bring up a very good point. Is this something the council would rather explore a facilities plan across all departments? But if we do that, it also we have to realistically expect that we're going to spend the money and to make some of these improvements too, if we're going to do them. I hate to spend money on a plan or do all this legwork when we have no intention of spending the money. But is that something that the council thinks we need to have done to address some of the other, the list that is ever growing?
The trouble is, the
can't-
longer we take to do it, the more the costs keep going up on us.
And I know the big numbers get really, they get scary. They almost seem unattainable. So that's why I ask if that's something or not, or are we better off trying to do piece by piece?
Valid point.
Well, I think a facilities plan is a good idea. And maybe committing money to the proposed plan, we don't have yet, but maybe anticipating there would be a cost. I just see in this building that we need square footage more than we need anything else. And this $100,000 doesn't do anything towards that.
No, it doesn't. The thing it does do is we're able to use our space differently because of the electronic filing. If you've seen, that room has been just getting cleared out, and that's why we're trying to make better use of the space. But you're right, we don't have any additional square footage by any of this. This is trying to make do with our existing footprint.
And I just see in 5 to 10 years that we need square feet. One way or another. I mean, either the police department or the library or city hall.
But see, we can't wait that long. And I feel we've got to do something now and get it started. And that's why I'd like to see the remodeling done next year and get going. We can always look in the future of doing some remodeling or buying another building or something, but for now I think we're better off to get this office remodeled and do it now. That's just my opinion.
Katie, you looking at any expansion there, immediate, like, in the future, whatever?
Well, if the city grows, as the city grows, I mean, eventually your police department will have to grow with it. So, I mean, it all depends on how the city grows, and I mean, no, your guess is as good as mine of what's gonna happen. I mean, if we get another full-time officer, we would need another squad car, and where are we gonna put that squad car? We only have a 2-car Sallyport. So, I mean, we would need to look for options of what we can do.
Somewhere down the line,
Yeah, somewhere down the line, if it grows like we are anticipating, yes.
But realistically, we could be looking maybe 5, 6, 7 years.
Probably, yeah. There's no way we can predict how much housing's all of a sudden gonna start going, or how much, if we get the industrial park up and running, if we're gonna get any industry in there at all. Nobody, you can fathom a guess, but nobody knows for sure.
And with our call load over the years, we have seen the increase, so if it's gonna get bigger, I mean, our numbers are only gonna get bigger.
I mean, with that 14%, we can still come down before we finalize the budget. We're still able to come down.
That is correct, yep.
Yep, we can still,
Just can't increase.
but we cannot go any higher. Once you set the budget, you can't go any higher. But we can always come down.
So with the remodel budget, that'll bring us back up to that 14%.
What you have, the 14% includes the remodel. It does not include the EDA or the siren.
Yep.
So those were the cuts. If you, the 9.4%, that would include half of that money. So that would put away 50,000, and then we'd reevaluate in a year on whether we wanna raise that extra 50, or the council would readdress the decision again next year. That would just give you some options, and it would just put money into the capital fund.
Well, with 50,000, what could we get done with the office?
Can't. It's gonna take,
Well, I
might
don't
be
wanna,
questionable with 100,000.
See, I
Well,
think
I
that
had
that's
com-
high. I think that 100,000 is high for what they wanna do there.
I had, so the estimate, we had Conlon who built the building out. He brought the architect, they've done most of our projects here. His numbers have been pretty good, but he told me in this bidding and, in this environment, it's difficult. I think lumber prices have come down a bit, but I'm not an expert in that. We were trying to get a planning number, that's what we were shooting for, a planning number for the CIP. We'd still bid it, you'd still have the option of, we'd still have to go out for quotes and bids. So if it doesn't come through, if it comes way high, you still have the option to, we're not moving ahead.
But the money would be in the account.
Yeah, there's money,
Basically.
there's a budget there for
Yeah.
it. And I don't know what waiting a year or two, I can't predict that. I don't think anybody really knows.
Right.
So you said if, at 9.4, but if we put 50,000, that's gonna bring it to 14%?
No, 50,000, so instead of including the whole 100 and only putting 50, you'll bring it down to 9.4. And then you just hold that money in the account, and then you levy the additional 50 the following year. You come back and talk about this.
So the
again.
9.4 was with 50,000 going towards the remodel?
Correct, yep, half the amount. Or we'd put the 50 into the CIP account, and then we'd discuss again next year. And if something were to change, that 50 could be, you could reallocate that elsewhere.
Or 100,000.
Or you could reallocate the rest of the 50 or whatever it takes.
Is there a cost of doing a facility plan?
Oh, absolutely.
How would you do that?
I don't even know what
We
a,
may not-
do you have any
may not
idea?
spend it either. It's in the budget.
It's like any other plan, I'm sure you're in for at least 10K, maybe
least.
20. I mean, I'm just kinda, any plan costs money. I haven't done a facilities plan forever, I'm not sure. It's a good thing, but I don't like to spend them, I guess I wouldn't recommend spending the money if we're not gonna have any intention of.
Well, unless we take the building moratorium down, it doesn't matter, it's
Yeah.
not gonna grow.
So that's kinda where I totally recognize the concerns you have. We've talked about them at the staff level too.
I motion the 14%, so the additional 50,000 goes into the CIP or towards the building remodel,
You mean are you meaning the
the
9
budget.
You want, you're at, the 14.2 is the whole 100?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's a motion?
Yep.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
And Mr. Mayor, if I could ask if you could do another motion just adopting resolution 22-23.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And this is the preliminary, so we will put this out to the tax statements, and this will be discussed again when we have TNT hearing in December. And if there are any additional questions that the council has, let me know. We always carry this, as a potential, you can bring it up at any point in the next couple meetings before we get to that hearing. So, this is the preliminary, what we'll certify, and then we come back and address it again. That's all I have then.
Any old business? Is there any new business? Are the scouts here just to observe? Oh, okay. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming.
Do you have any questions?
Don't be scared.
Don't wanna get
ask.
into that, huh?
Okay, we will now close the regular meeting so we can have a private discussion on the option agreement price of a particle of land. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Hey, Chief, can I see afterwards?
I've worked from home for over 15 years. These are some of your expenses that all pilot work from home. They're astronomical.
We will now reconvene the regular city council meeting. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.